Excellent, team. Welcome to the Standard Podcast, where we raise the bar, rebuild the culture, and call out the lies or misconceptions that nobody else will. This isn't motivation. This is a movement. I'm Thomas Rowe, here with my co-host, Erin Sarles, and today we're sitting down with Demetric Felton, a UCLA graduate, professional football player with the NFL and the CFL, and an entrepreneur who is passionate about growth both on and off the field. Demetric's career in professional football has taught him resilience, adaptability, and the importance of preparation. Qualities he now brings into the world of business and entrepreneurship. His athletic journey has given him a unique perspective on what it takes to perform under pressure, overcome setbacks, and continuously develop as both an athlete and as a person. Now, Demetric is focused on creating opportunities that connect sports, innovation, and leadership. His goal is to leverage the discipline and perspective he's gained as an athlete to succeed as an entrepreneur and founder. He understands that the same principles that drive success on the field, preparation, resilience, and adaptability, are also the foundation for building successful businesses and creating lasting impacts. This isn't about transitioning from sports to business. This is about understanding how the lessons learned through competition, teamwork, and high-pressure performance translates into entrepreneurial success and leadership excellence. We're diving into the truth behind what it really takes to build identity, discipline, and legacy in sports and in life. Let's get into it. Demetric, thanks so much for joining us. We're really super excited about having you here.
Thank you so much for that intro, Thomas, and thank you, Erin, for having me as well. Super excited to talk to you guys.
Excellent. Well, let's start with UCLA. You're a graduate and a professional football player with the NFL. How is that focus in entrepreneurship, and how does it create opportunities that connect sports, innovation, and leadership? And what does raising the standard mean to you, both in athletics and in business?
Yeah, so finding that bridge, it was originally tough for me. I was super focused on my football career. And usually when you have that mindset, nothing else really matters other than that. And so I had to initially break out of having such a narrow view and think about how I could leverage my experience. I feel like it's a very unique experience, having played since I was 7 years old and, playing all the way up until, well into my professional career. And so really just thinking hard about it, about what has got me there, that's what led me to bridging that gap between the mental preparation in sports and how we can enhance that and make it more efficient with technology that we now have available to us.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And what do you think is the biggest lie that the culture or society has sold athletes about transitioning from sports to business? And what have you discovered about leveraging athletic experience to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I feel like the biggest lie is that you're only as good as your last play. That's one thing that a lot of football players think. And that's what I thought about myself for a while. And once I was able to realize that, no, I have power in my experience and with my mind, I could be able to take that other places and be able to help other players who are trying to reach this level as well.
Awesome. So your career taught you about resilience, adaptability, and the importance of preparation. How did your journey from UCLA to professional football shape your understanding of what it takes to succeed at a high-pressure environment?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. When I was at UCLA, my journey wasn't straight. When I first got there, I had an injury. I tore my labrum in spring practice. And so I had to sit out that year. And having to sit back and not really be a part of that team, it definitely hurt. And I had big dreams, aspirations, just making an impact and earning the respect of my teammates and my coaches instantly. And not being able to do that was really tough. But I figured, like the best thing I can do is just get better as fast as I can. And so once I was able to do that, I was finally able to get on the field and start earning that trust. And, I used to always try to, count numbers or the reps instead of just making everything count, every opportunity count and recognizing, okay, what can I handle? What can I control? And I knew if I was able to control my mind and how much of the offense or my role that I knew and that I worked hard, that whenever that opportunity came, I would be able to shine. And it just relates back to something that my dad always told me. My dad always told me preparation plus opportunity equals greatness. And so I just really tried to emphasize my preparation. And once I started doing that, and I took off whenever those opportunities came. I couldn't tell you if I knew they were going to come, but instead of focusing on that, I just focused on the process.
Love it. Speaking of your dad, one of the things you and I talked about off camera when we first met was both of our dads were in the military. And you spent time down in Temecula, where you went to high school. When you were getting recruited, how did you pick UCLA out of the other schools? And now we see so many athletes jumping with NIL in the transfer portal. How did you pick UCLA, and how do you feel like the transfer portal and NIL is going to change the game?
Yeah, so that was definitely not around during my process. So for me, it was all about, just the fit, how it would fit in terms of the scheme and if they would use me, and also just like what else could this school offer to me. And UCLA has been known to be a great school for forever now. And so it made my decision fairly easy. It's a great school. It wasn't too far away from home, not too close to home to where I wouldn't be able to be in my own space. And my family was able to be a part of my experience. So to me, it was a no-brainer. And in terms of NIL now, it's definitely interesting. A lot of guys are able to, set themselves up and set their families up through this new opportunity. And I definitely think it's a good thing for the players, but I just ultimately don't want it to take away from what college football is supposed to be, and especially the game of football, of earning that respect, earning that trust. I think that's something that has to be earned, and it shouldn't be given very lightly.
That's awesome. We're going to turn it over to Erin, which is segment 2, which is identity and legacy. Erin, take it away.
Awesome. I'm excited to join the conversation here. So I want you to just tell our audience, Demetric, just who are you? Beyond what Thomas gave us at the top, football player, UCLA, but just tell us who you are and I think some of the new exciting things that you're embarking on.
Yeah, so I would say, I'm a highly motivated individual who loves competition and loves to be able to help people out. That's been my main goal, is just to be able to give back and help people and tell them that they have something special inside of them and that they should lean into it. And if I could show that through my play or whatever I'm doing, then I'm doing the right thing.
That's awesome. I love that. I think we need lots more of that in the world is, how do you activate people into their gifts and know that they're valued and special and that we all have something to contribute. Mm-hmm. So your goal is to leverage discipline and perspective that you've gained as an athlete, now as an entrepreneur with Chalkboard Sports. Hopefully I got that right.
Yeah.
What does legacy beyond football mean to you, or what kind of legacy are you trying to build?
Mm-hmm. It definitely it means a lot to me. Being able to leave a lasting impact on the game is something that I've been wanting to do ever since I started. And starting Chalkboard Sports gives me the ability to do that, I believe, more than me playing, because it's going to allow each player to be able to be in charge of their own development. And I think especially with NIL and everything going on. Like, it's in the transfer portal. It's hard for guys to be able to develop when maybe they're out of school for 1 year. And the coaches as well, like they don't have a lot of time, and being able to supplement the teaching that's already in place and make it more efficient is a no-brainer to me. I feel like being able to actually measure players' mental capacity and their understanding is definitely underrated, and it's more valuable than players' physical ability. Because when my time during the NFL, a lot of the guys are great athletes, they're fast, but the true separator to me was people's ability to mentally understand the game a lot deeper than some other people. And that allows you to play faster mentally, which is an edge as well.
Yeah. I love what you're doing with that. And I'm the non-football girl here on the thing. My son plays football. I know a little bit about it, but the complexities of the plays and what you guys do and calls and run, I mean, yeah, the mental acuity of what you're processing at any given time it's unbelievable. To couple that, and you're right, with the physical ability, I think that probably would, not that I'm an expert in this, would create the separation for those athletes. So how does that translate to business success? And maybe what are the characteristics in those guys that you saw that really maybe you emulated or admired that was that separator?
Yeah. So definitely during my time there, reps are limited in the NFL. So a lot of the times you got to be able to get reps from other people. And so I got really good at just analyzing the great players, because that's what I wanted to be. And through that, some of the characteristics I saw was just their discipline, their work ethic, and also just how they understood the game. And that's what, to me, was just truly the separator. And so I wanted to be able to lean into that. And I feel like we can, but it's going to take some cooperation from the teams to be able to have those systems in place for players. Because a lot of guys are on their own when it comes to that. And I just feel like it'll be a lot more efficient for the teams to be able to help supplement that learning and be on the same page, so they don't go into the game just hoping that their players understand that they know. And I feel like the best businesses as well are able to adapt and add new technology that helps the team run a lot more smoothly.
Yeah, it's amazing what we have the capabilities, I think, of doing nowadays. And I think it's only going to get enhanced and speed up. And what I'd love to hear, now I want to know who was one of your favorite teammates, or, who'd you really admire, emulate, give the audience more. They like to know who's like, okay, playing with this person and it was so inspiring.
Yeah, I would say, my favorite teammate was definitely Nick Chubb when I went to the Browns, but there was a lot of guys I really admired watching just through my time. I've been on 5 different teams in the NFL, and Nick, Jonathan Taylor, Zach Ertz, Baker Mayfield, it was a lot of guys that I came across that I definitely I loved the way they approached the game. I loved how they were themselves, but they also worked really hard. And through that, I just saw how it allowed them to show up in big times and high pressure moments.
I love that. Well, shout out to Nick Chubb. If you're listening, that's awesome. You made an impact. You had there was a little impact there, which is awesome. But I think so important. What is one truth you wish every athlete understood about preparation for life after sports, or maybe in sports? Like, is there one principle, like one truth you wish athletes really understood?
I wish athletes really took advantage of just the network and the abilities they have while they're in college or in the game. A lot of times, like I said, you're stuck in that mindset of, I'm only as good as my last play, so I have to make sure that everything is about football and nothing else matters. And I feel like that puts us at a disadvantage when we decide to transition. I think you should take advantage of the resources and the eyes that you have on you and lean into it. And I think we need to put better systems in place for players and also not make them feel bad for wanting to be involved in other things.
I think that's great. Yeah. Balance. Yes. In the moment, we want you to be great, but there's going to be an after moment too. And you got to be kind of preparing for that simultaneously. I think that's super important. Okay, Thomas, I'm going to kick it back over to you now.
Awesome. Demetric, we're going to get into segment 3, which is advice across stages. We kind of touched a little bit on it about your pursuit to UCLA, but if you could sit down with yourself, a younger version of you, maybe your senior year, before you understood how athletic lessons would translate to business, what advice would you give that version of yourself?
What advice would I give that version of myself? I would say just don't let anyone else's narrative change how you view yourself. I think a lot of times we could fall into, just the noise and start to doubt, but I would say just believe what you know about yourself and lean into that and have that confidence.
Right on. You see this all the time. What about professional athletes who are still playing but thinking about making their next move? What do they need to understand about building entrepreneurial skills while they're still playing?
I think they need to understand that they have the ability. A lot of the times players just think very smallly about it, and we don't think we have the ability to scale those type of businesses, but we do. I think it takes a lot of not only physical ability, but smarts to be able to perform at a high level. And a lot of those processes and how we think and how we do things can be transitioned and moved to a business as well, which can be very impactful.
Right. And your focus on connecting sports, innovation, and leadership. What advice would you give former athletes who have the discipline and the competitive nature or drive, but they're struggling to find their entrepreneurial path?
I would say try to connect with people who you have seen done it, and try to find inspiration from them and have those conversations, because it's very valuable and it'll definitely give you a lot of ideas and hope. But like I said before, I think you just got to really reflect on your life and how you got there. And also just putting yourself in different situations to see what else you're good at and being open to, other possibilities.
Sure. You touched on it there for a second in earlier comments, and that is we always hear about athletes. They're told, burn the boats, no plan B, just go all in. What about these young athletes who are still developing their careers? One of the things Erin and I talk about is, it's fine not to have a plan B, but you have to prepare for the future. And we ask them, do they understand the difference? What would you say is the difference between having no plan B, but preparing for the future?
I think you have to change how you're talking about it and how you frame it in your mind. I don't think it's having a plan B, is being versatile and having some versatility in your abilities. And through that, it's going to create more opportunity for you.
Right on. Excellent. Erin, we're going to kick it back to you for segment 4, rapid fire round. Take it away.
Okay. My favorite. I'm going to start a sentence and you're just going to finish it for me. Okay. So discipline equals.
Discipline equals, I would say, longevity.
Leadership equals.
Serving.
Faith equals.
Faith equals. I would say faith equals your foundation.
I love it. Legacy equals.
Your lasting impact.
What is one thing that you would never compromise on?
Mm. My family.
I love it. And if you could put a billboard on, or put up a billboard for the next generation of athletes, what would it be?
You are more than your sport.
That is awesome. Okay, Thomas, back to you.
Awesome. Dimitri, we're going to get into the closing round here. And one of my favorite questions, you went from rapid fire to the hot seat. What is Dimitri's top 3 sports movies of all time?
Ooh, man.
Any sport.
Man, I just watched this one, but I'm trying to think of the name. It was with Ernie Davis. Man, I can't think of the name. Man, top 3 sports movies. Definitely remember
You got today.
Huh?
I said the hardest question we asked.
Yeah, this is the hardest one of the day. Definitely remember the Titans.
Sure.
Dang, what was this movie?
Was it called The Express?
Yes, The Express. The Express.
Okay.
That's my favorite one.
The Express, Remember the Titans.
And what else? I can't think of another one.
There's so many honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those questions that I always like to ask our athletes because, it's kind of art imitating life. And what's really interesting is when we have like a basketball player on and he says nothing or he or she says nothing but baseball movies, you're like, what? Wait a minute. But I guess when it's your life.
Mm-hmm.
So what we talked about off camera was what we like to give our guests is an opportunity just to talk about anything, kind of an open floor. Is there something we didn't touch on today that you feel athletes, entrepreneurs, or anyone thinking about their next chapter needs to hear about leveraging athletic experience for business success?
I would say one of the biggest things is just leaning into your network. We come across so many great individuals throughout this whole process.
Sure.
And I think you need to definitely just leverage those relationships and those people that you come across with because they can help you a lot. And I would say relationships are everything. So definitely just treat people well because you just never know how they can help you in the future when it comes to making that transition.
Awesome. So when you were growing up, when did you know that you wanted to play in the NFL? Was it in, grade school? Was it not till you got to high school?
Mm-hmm. So when I was young, I fell in love with college football first. I lived in Hawaii, and that's when they went undefeated. It was Colt Brennan,
Sure.
Devon Best. And so, I loved Colt Brennan. I loved Devon Best, Ryan Grice-Molan. And so that's what motivated me. I was like, I just want to play college football. I want to play college football, and then I'll go into the military because, I grew up in a military family.
Sure.
And I was around it all the time. It wasn't until I got to high school, I watched the NFL. I definitely felt like, I could do it, but it wasn't until high school where I really felt like it was a possibility once I started just playing a lot more and doing really well. I was like, okay, I can actually take this further than I'm thinking.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Before we totally close out, where can people get a hold of you? Where can they connect with you? Whether that's a website, your social media, or an email, whatever information you want to share with the audience.
Yeah, I would say definitely my email at Demetric@chalkboardsports.io. Also, any of my social media handles, LinkedIn as well. I would love to connect with people more on there.
Right on. Right on. Demetric, thank you so much for showing us what it looks like to leverage athletic discipline for entrepreneurial success. Team, if this conversation ain't you, do two things for us. One, share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. An athlete thinking about life after sports, an entrepreneur looking to apply competitive principles to business, or anyone navigating the transition from one chapter to the next. And two, connect with Demetric and follow his journey as he creates opportunities that connect sports, innovation, and leadership. His approach to leveraging athletic experience for entrepreneurial success could provide the perspective you need for your own transition. And if you're an athlete, parent, or coach ready to raise a standard, check Erin and I out at blueprintbluechip.com. We help athletes build identity, discipline, and legacy that goes far beyond the game. And if this episode has resonated with you, team, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps us reach more athletes, parents, and leaders who need to hear Demetric's message. This is the Standard Podcast, and this movement only grows when we raise the standard together. Talent fades, but truth endures. Let's raise the bar, rebuild the culture, and become the standard. Demetric, Erin, thank you so much. Team, we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me.